Hi everyone, Stropes here again, going through some Shadows of the Galaxy sealed play on Force Table, just trying to get in some practice before the pre-release. So the way that I've structured these videos is I start by going over the sealed deck, and then I go through 3 games, walk you through the games, and then at the end we go over the whole sealed pool, talk about the cards in depth, in detail. So if you want to skip straight to the games, they're time stamped. You can go to game 1, game 2, game 3, or if you just want to skip straight to the sealed analysis portion of the pool, you can do that. But right now, first things first, we're just going to go over the deck. So we're starting off today. We are using Boba Fett Daimyo deck. So when you play a unit that has 1 or more keywords, you can exhaust him. That's an automatic ability. You do not need to use an action for that. So it's kind of similar to the Boba leader from set 1 in that respect. And then it gives them +1/+0 for this phase. So it allows for pretty good attrition, pretty good trades. You can kind of force trades that are suboptimal for your opponent with that ability. It is worth noting that keywords are not the same thing as traits, so be a little bit careful. I know some newer players, these videos are kind of more geared toward players who may be going to their first pre-release, so the keyword is in red, just like the word keyword right there is on his ability. So things like ambush, things like grit, things like overwhelm. Sometimes I see new players get, we'll look at Clone Deserter right here. Sometimes people get confused and they think it's that trait line, right, where it says fringe clone. It is not the trait line, it's in the text. So that restore, bounty, things like that, that is what Boba Fett is looking for. So our first card is Clone Deserter. It's restore 1, has bounty on it, so it will trigger your opponent's bounty cards, but the trade-off for that is it is a 2/3 for 1, which is pretty good. We're running this again because it'll trigger Boba Fett. So Boba Fett, on his flip side, his ability exhausts him to do it, but he gives a static buff to all of them when he's deployed. So it gives a permanent +1/+0, like while he's out. There's no exhausting. He doesn't have to attack for that to happen. So while Boba's out, just keep in mind in the background of all of this, right, like this Clone Deserter is a 3/3 for 1. That's how it would work. Then we've got a Cloud Rider, very good 3-cost card, again with the ambush. So if you're the active player, you decide how that works. So that ambush is actually 4/1, which is pretty good. 3/1 is already good by itself with ambush to be able to trade for, maybe some annoying thing they played right away on the very first turn. But she can trade for something up to 4. When Boba is your leader. We've got Cobb Vanth. He does not have a keyword, but he is, we got 2 of him for our rares. When defeated, you can search the top 10 cards of your deck for a unit that costs 2 or less, discard it, and then you can play it from your discard pile for free. Worth noting with this also, since these are newer cards, it says like for this phase you may play that from your discard pile for free. It's not, this doesn't all happen at once, so you've got to keep track. If you you can discard that thing, and if you start passing later or you claim initiative or something, you can't ever play that card again. So and it does take an action too, so if you're trying to keep up on actions, just be careful, because if you are really wanting to grab initiative right after this, you might not want to be attacking into something and having him die, or just be careful when you do this, because you will need to use an action to play that card. It's very good because you're getting out a whole nother unit, basically 2 units for 1, but the downside, if there's a downside, is that you have to use an action to do it. And obviously is not a huge downside, but just be careful when you're using him, how you're using him. And also, again, take note that text there, the when defeated, is in black. That is not a keyword, so does not trigger and does not get a buff off of Boba Fett. Maybe because he's wearing his armor and Boba is mad about that or something. Coruscant Dissident, again, no keywords here. But a nice on-attack ability, allows you to ready a resource, so it's like pseudo ramp. And 3/4 on a 3-cost body is fine to use. Next card is Freetown Backup. I found this one to be pretty good, in practice in the games. It has smuggle, but I don't know, smuggle cost for on this, I do not know as you would ever. It is not worth the smuggle cost. And it's also not really good late game. I found this card to be pretty good, dropping it round 1, and then being able to immediately buff like space units, give them +2/+2. You'll see once we go into the games a little bit later, being able to do that to twin pod cloud car, turn it into a 4/4, restore 2 for 3 is very, very good. So if you can keep the Freetown backup around, they can be a lot better than they seem at first. They also have 4 health, so unless your opponent is playing a Boba Fett, like they can't ambush it with a Cloud Rider and get rid of it, it's hard for them to trade into it, and oftentimes they just sort of ignore it because it's only like a 1/4, but it is buffing something else. So it's one of those things, like if you see it across the table from you, do not ignore it and get rid of it if you can, if you don't have to waste too many resources doing so, because basically giving like another unit +2/+2 for the whole game starting from the first round is very hard to come back from if you leave it. It does need another unit, so if you can like consistently, if you've gotten a lot of removal in your sealed pool and feel like you can comfortably keep other units off the field, right, this isn't really going to do anything. But if your opponent can put out a lot of units, be careful of this card. It can be very good. Especially, I mean, like Fugitive Wookiees or something, right? It turns them into 5/5s. You know, pretty hard to come back from if this card stays around. It's also really great in Han because Han can get it out plus something else. Like you could play this plus a Clone Deserter or something, and then you got like a 4/5 restore one. So, you know, watch out for this card. It'll be very good. Fugitive Wookiee, we've run these before. They're fine to play early. You got to be careful playing them late because you don't want, like, if you've deployed your leader, you don't want to have a Fugitive Wookiee out because someone will kill it, and then it's just going to exhaust your leader because it just says exhaust a unit. So I think these are really great to play on the first few rounds of the game. As the game goes on, I don't play them, or just be careful when you play them. Like, attack with everything first, then drop them onto a board that you think will be okay. Especially if your opponent has just claimed initiative, don't drop this when you've got a whole bunch of other stuff out and you're going to be able to swing for lethal, but if they kill it, they're going to tap some your cards, right? So just be careful when you play it. Really good early in the game. Gamorrean Retainer is fine. The 3/2 on a Sentinel body is not as good in my play experience as you would sometimes think. I mean, it's fine to keep, especially like late game, you're trying to drop it. They've got like a Rancor they're going to whack you with and deal 9, and you just want to feed it a Gamorrean Retainer. That's a fine use of it, but it's basically paying 2, in my experience, to keep damage off your base. Usually, I mean, even early game, I mean, I guess if you play like a Freetown backup first, it's just that it sometimes doesn't synergize well with some of the other cards in the deck, right? Like the Freetown backup, if they're just going to straight up attack into this Retainer and kill it, and you're not going to have a chance to attack with the backup or attack with the guard before they get rid of it, just kind of really depends. In a really defensive deck, I could see this doing a whole lot of work. In this specific deck with Boba Fett, where you're trying to push out a fair amount of damage, sometimes, like I said, it just kind of turns into a pay 2, keep some damage off your base for a minute, which is, again, fine, definitely playable, but just FYI. L3 I think is really great here. With Boba Fett, she basically becomes sort of like a 7th fleet, but on the ground for 2, because Boba will give her the buff, or she'll give other people the buff, and she'll come out with a shield if you can't rescue a captured card. There's a fair amount of capture cards in this set, so people might be capturing some of your stuff that you really want to keep around, so L3 can rescue them, but L3 also will give a shield if there's nothing for her to rescue. So like I said, with Boba, even the stuff with smuggle, it's worth noting, like, you don't have to smuggle it with Boba to get Boba sees the keyword smuggle on the card. So when you play her, even if you have not smuggled her out, she's still got smuggle. It's still a keyword, so it still counts. So oftentimes, and since there's so many other keywords on other cards, oftentimes you can just keep her, give her the power buff from Boba, and she'll become like a 3/2 shielded unit, which is very good. Principled Outlaw. Again, just another small. I don't think I actually have played this in any of the rounds, but I mean, I think is good because it just says exhaust a ground unit, so you can use him to exhaust leaders if you've got the initiative. The smuggle for 6. I think some of these smuggle things you just gotta be watching out for a little bit, because I think he's good at 4, less good at 6. So probably one of the reasons I didn't play him is because we get to those later rounds, and on 6 you're trying to do other things, and it's not really worth it to play them because you're doing other stuff. So especially with the common ones where the smuggle cost is more, it can be a little bit more difficult to use them. But I think again, a smuggle counts for Boba Fett's ability. He'd be a 5/4, so you just want to throw those things in the deck. Privateer crew, just another kind of generic smuggle card. The smuggle for 6 again is kind of like a hard sell for me. I think maybe better in like a Hondo deck. I've played Privateer crew in a number of games, and she just they just don't usually work out that well, because paying 6 when you think about it for a 5/5 is not that great. And even with Hondo, it's like 6 for a 6/6, which is all right, but not like worth writing home about. And at uncommon, I mean, they're playable, but again, just not super great. We've got Tarful here. Restore 2, a 3/9. When a friendly Wookiee is dealt combat damage and isn't defeated, that enemy deals that much damage to an enemy ground unit. So what you want to be doing with him, if you couldn't tell, is like attacking into stuff. So it's not based on like the damage that's on him or anything like that. So like if you attack into Jabba's Rancor, the Rancor will deal 9 to Tarful, and then Tarful can deal 9 to something else. So you can kill Rancor back with him, but then you'll lose Tarful in the process. But like that is the kind of play that you can do with him. You're really using him to kind of stabilize. I've found it can sometimes be a little bit difficult because like at 7, having a 3 power thing is just sometimes not that great, and you're kind of relying on their power to be able to deal some of the damage. The Restore 2 can keep you in the game till you can finish it off with something else like a Millennium Falcon. And like I said, he can really get rid of some troublesome units that have high power, like Maul or something, because he'll still be doing his damage, right? So like he'll deal the 3 damage, and then like Maul will deal the 7 back, and then he'll do the 7 to Maul, which would do 10 total, right? So you can trade him into some stuff, especially like some of those better rares and some of those high power uncommons, like I said, like Jabba's Rancor if you need to. And he can heal the base, so he can do a fair amount of work. So he might look a little innocuous at first in sealed, but can really help you out. You just have to kind of play around with it. He's not as like obviously powerful as something like Maul, but he can put in a ton of work. Queequeg Pirate Gang, very good because of the ambush. Even the ambush smuggle at the 5 is okay, but yeah, just a little bit of filler, but hits the keyword note, and ambush on something is always good, I think. We go into the space units here. We're running 1 cartel turncoat, again hits the bounty keyword, plus if you can keep your Freetown backup, like we talked about earlier, out, that turns it into like a 4/5 for a little bit. Hitting your opponent's base in the air for 4, starting off real early in the game, can be pretty hard on them. Millennium Falcon, ambush 5/5 in space is good, plus the smuggle cost is the same, so you don't feel bad resourcing this early game, because unless your opponent has a scanning crew, which is something to watch out for in green, but scanning crew is an uncommon. I don't think you'll be running into it that much, even though again it is something to watch out for. You don't feel bad resourcing this early because you can always still play this on 6. It's not like it costs 8 like some of those other cards that start to cost more. So I think it's a great card to be running. Smuggler Starfighter, L3 and some of the other cards in the deck hit this, so being able to give something -3, -0 and then run into it and then still keep your unit around is really what this deck wants to be doing. thing. Like I mentioned at the start, Boba Fett kind of plays into a little bit of an attrition style game plan, where you're trying to like get trades that are good for you, keep your units around, get rid of their units. I'd run more of these starfighters if I could. Again, they've got smuggle, so Boba Fett will see it, it'll hit, and you'll get the hit for that, and then you can give minus power to something else, get rid of it. These twin pod cloud cars, I think, are very, 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 very good. Especially in sealed. Restore 2 in space. Sometimes it's hard to just open up space units in general. And so like you don't always see a whole lot of them, and if your opponent doesn't draw into them, or they don't have them, or they've only got like kind of not very good space units, these can do a lot of work. The Restore 2 is good, keeps a lot of damage off your base, and if you start out the game doing this early, it can be very hard on your opponent. It's also worth noting, again, I keep going back to Freetown Backup, but Freetown Backup can turn those cloud cars into 4/4s, so you can get rid of some of your opponent's stuff. And as we'll see here in a second in upgrades, like if you can use these rich rewards to stick experience on them, even better. I think these will be fantastic in Rey, where Rey can just turn these into 3/3s Restore 2s, because and then if you can like keep putting stuff on them, whether that's with those blue-white Mandalorians that stick experience on any of your units, things like that. If you can start sticking even like a little bit of experience, or just buffing them with Freetown Backup, stuff like that, cards like that, I think these are really fantastic cards, and you know, can help you out quite a lot. Boba Fett's armor, another reason we kind of like went with the cards that we did. We're running 4 of our 6 rares in that we pulled. We got the 2 Cobb Vans, we got Tarful, and we got Boba Fett. So there's 4 of our rares. Boba Fett's armor is fantastic on Boba Fett. It prevents 2 of any damage. That includes combat damage to him. So if you run this like into your opponent's Boba, he'll only take like 2 damage in return, and then it also is giving you +2 power and +2 defense. If you can get this on your Boba, it's very hard for your opponent to do much of anything about it, and he becomes a really great target to use your take captives and some of your other cards on, because it's really hard for them to get rid of him. He goes up to like 9 health, and then 2 of all the damage that would be going on him doesn't work. So unless they've got something like a Rival's Fall in blue, it's really almost impossible for them to get rid of him. I guess like a Rancor or something like might eventually do it too, but just very difficult unless they get specific cards to do much to him. Rich reward, I talked about it a second ago. You want to use these rich rewards to put your experience on your space units, because again, space units tend to be a little bit underpowered compared to your ground units. That's just how the game designers tried to balance space versus ground. So if you can start putting experience in this deck or any other deck on your space units, it can really help out, start to turn the tide. So if you've got an option, usually you want to put it on your space units, but also again good because you can like put that on your Boba. So if you can start putting some experience on Boba when he's out, it's just like cost 1. So if you're going to be trading for it anyway, there's a fair amount of Sentinels, and I think there's most colors like have access to them, whether that's just in blue with constables, but also the Gamorrean guards like we are running, as well as like Pike Sentinels. You're going to be running into some of those cards anyway, right? So putting the rich reward on them, you're just kind of like getting more value out of the cards that you're having to use anyway, right? You've got to trade for those cards, so might as well put the rich rewards on them. And then we'll go into events here. The only one that we're not running that we opened in our color is Look the Other Way. I think it's okay, but is really kind of just filler, because it's just temporarily exhausting something, and even then, if they can pay to not have that happen to pay you off, right? It's kind of, you know, fun card for like theme, right? Really thematic, you know, like, are you going to pay me? If you can pay me, then you don't have to exhaust the card. You know, fun for the set, but you don't want the exhaust to be in control of the opponent, because cards that rely on your opponent to make that decision are just really not very good. We are running McClunky. We can hit our L3 with it, play our L3, so go back to L3 here for a second. So L3 has the wind plate ability to rescue someone, but also she'll come out with the shield. So if they've knocked the shield off, you can use McClunky to play her back, give her a shield again. But also if they have captured one of your cards and you want to rescue them, you can use McClunky on the L3, play the L3, you get your captured card back. So I think there's a lot of synergy here with L3. I don't think we saw this come up in many of the games or any of the games, but definitely there's a lot of like toolbox use you can get out from a lot of these cards like that. Outflank is kind of just filler. We can push out a lot of damage in this deck once Boba Fett is out, because he gives pretty much all of our units that +1/+0. So being able to attack with 2 units at once, including Boba himself, you can really kind of just finish the game real easy, push out like 6 or 7 damage basically each time you play this. I have tended to resource it. I'm not sure, again, that you see much use of this in the games, but it's a fine card to use. I say filler, but I mean being able to do 6 or 7 damage, especially right at the end of the game when you need to push some on the base, can be very good. Surprise Strike, fantastic card. Reprint from Spark. If you have played before, you know how good it is. Being able to deal 3 extra damage, you often need to be able to deal like 7 damage to, you know, like leader units and things like that. If we go back to Boba Fett, he's got, as you can kind of see there in the bottom right corner of the card, he says 4/7, so he's got 7 health on his leader side when deployed, and our leader, right, Boba, has 4 damage. So if you surprise strike your Boba into their Boba, you can just immediately kill theirs. So there's a lot of uses like that. And also being able to, it doesn't have to be into a unit. You can just use this straight up if you want to deal like, again, right, like you've got a 4 power unit out, or like the Falcon, right? Maybe you've got the Falcon in space. They've got 8 health left, which is a fair amount of health. If you surprise strike on your Falcon, you do 8 damage to them, you win the game. So I would run all the surprise strikes that I opened. It's good for getting rid of units, and it's good for just ending the game when you need it to end. Take Captive is one of the removal cards that you see in this set. A lot of them, I think the yellow one captures. So a lot of the removal in this set is either like captures or deals with capturing. I think there's a red one that will deal 6 damage to a unit if it has captured one of your units. Some kind of like a rescue card, kind of like you see with L3, except it just does damage. But these cards, again, are also fine to use. The green one doesn't have any conditions. It's unconditional. So you capture, besides that, it's like a non-leader, right? But some things are, especially if you're used to the other set where it's like, does it have 5 or less health or 5 or more health? Cards like Fell the Dragon in this set. This doesn't care about how much health is left. It only cares that it's a non-leader. So you can use this to get rid of a whole lot of different cards. And it's very useful, especially if you can like pull a Sentinel and just keep it hammering the base when you need to. Very, very useful card to have in your removal suite. But I think that goes through all of our every single card that we open that we're playing in the deck so far. So we will go into the first match here in a minute. Alright, let's see what we've got. Looks like we will be up against Fennec Shand on a blue base. So Fennec, you can spend a resource and exhaust her to play a unit that costs 4 or less, and it automatically has ambush, or it comes out with ambush when you do that. So it can be pretty good, pretty powerful, especially if things have overwhelm on them or not. Let's see here. We've got 2 Cobb Vanth in our opening. Can always smuggle out this Falcon later and smuggle out this Outlaw later. So I don't think we'll mulligan. At the same time, though, Boba cares about keywords. So we may, which counts as smuggle too. So we definitely are not going to mulligan. Looks like they will though. And keeping 2 Cobb Vanth can be pretty impactful, because it really would allow us to trade on board and get value, right? Because if we can trade for their units and then we get more stuff out, even though it does take us an action to do that, and we go down on the action economy a little bit, we do keep up a pretty large board presence. I'll lead with L3. Sure. Just so we don't forget. L3 is nice, and I mean, it does come out with shield, and if you can buff it with Boba, she can be 3/2 shielded on the ground, which is pretty good. We got a Tarful. Here's the more tricky part. We know we've only got 1 Tarful here in our whole deck, so if we resource Tarful now, we are never going to get them out. And Tarful can help us a lot late game. A surprise strike is very good too, right? So I'm gonna get rid of 1 Cobb Vanth here. So they're playing the Mandalorian Warrior a little bit out of order for some reason. We will play a Deserter here, because that Deserter will trigger Boba, whereas Cobb Vanth would not trigger Boba, and this allows us to attack with our L3 right into their Mandalorian Warrior and get rid of it. Okay, take captive. Really good removal in sealed and draft, because there's really no conditions. You just need to have a unit in the same arena, so which is not, or should not be that hard to do. Rich reward can be nice, but I think we're gonna need to keep our removal. We really don't want to be resourcing a surprise strike either, so we'll see what they've got. Cloud Rider, they're going to trade for our clone, which will allow them to draw. We will just play Cobb Vanth here. And then straight just attack onto their base. And we'll pass. Let's check again when Fennec comes out. Fennec can come out on 5, so Fennec can drop on this turn for them. Boba will come out later for us. We can potentially, let's see, I mean, like, we can always surprise strike Fennec. We can also, oh, they ambush that out. Good play on their end, because that means we could can't use out or a surprise strike to get rid of that right away. Let's see here though, because I was going to surprise strike Cobb Vanth, but I guess it'll work out similarly though. Let's see here. Freetown backup is nice. Fugitive Wookiees, alright. Just like at this point, what do we want? Let's play the Fugitive Wookiee. Okay, so we'll play the Wookiee, which will, and then we can buff L3, and then we can run L3 into those constables. Okay, so Fennec, when she's out, you can do the same as her leader zone action, except obviously you're not having to exhaust her to do that. Let's see, I don't think there's like a lot else that we could do. I mean, like, we could take captive the constables and then kill Fennec with L3, but I don't really think that is worth it, so I'm just gonna attack into there. Boba's ability allows you to get some nice trades with that power buff. Okay, and then we're just going to have to take initiative there. We cannot use take captive on Fennec since she's a leader. Smuggler Starfighter, we can get that. If we play Boba, we can get that pretty quick. Let's see. I think we're really going, but we can also potentially get a rich reward off on Fennec. So I think we're just gonna resource that outflank. Maybe we will lead. Although if we lead with Boba, and they kill the fugitive Wookiee, we're kind of out of luck on that. So really, maybe what we should do is, because we don't want them killing our fugitive Wookiee when Boba's out, because it'll just tap Boba down. So what we need to do first is we need to surprise strike our Wookiee into Fennec. That way they also can't just like ambush out something for 6 straight back onto us. Got another Mandalorian. Okay, so here is where we can get Boba out. And then it's just whether we want to, let's see. Let's play Boba's Underworld, so we can do a Smuggler Starfighter, give this Coruscant Dissident -3, then we can play the rich reward on that Dissident, then we can attack with our Boba, that means we take no damage back, and then we can put that experience onto our units. Which, this swing will be pretty hard for them to come back from, especially once we drop Tarful there. We need to go up at least to 7 so that we can play him. Gonna ambush Infest Nest. Okay. But that gives, okay, just for that attack, but that only leaves 3 health on Boba Fett. So if we want to keep Boba around, we would have to take captive that Mandalorian warrior, which I think honestly like might be worth it. Man, it is. Yeah, it's just sort of difficult. Like, how big is that? I mean, it trades it for that. Like, do we really want to keep Boba around that much? Or is it alright just to put Tarful out? And if we are doing that, I mean, like, we might benefit from trading Boba for Infest Nest. Because Infest Nest is very good in Fennec because of that ambush. So... ooh, this is a pretty tough decision. Really, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit base with Boba. And we can still drop Tarful. Tarful is going to be hard enough for them to deal with anyway. Plus it gives us some restore. We also have Boba's armor in the deck, so we can stick Boba's armor on him to make him a 5/11 if we can draw into it. We've only got 13 cards left, so we should also not forget about our smuggle cards. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I think, although, yeah, maybe. Both of these come out at 6. But we also take captive is really nice here. We can get rid of Infest Nest though, and that will heal us for a little bit. Keep us firmly down in the single digits. Okay, and then let's see, we'll attack here in space. Alright, Kira is going to make something cost 3 more. They named Freetown Backup, which is a little strange. I would think they would name Take Captive, but they did not. On attack next turn, let me see, Tarful does 3 there, and then 7 to Kira. And if we can, let's just get out a Falcon. Wait, it's just like asking us which ones to... Okay, because I guess you can exhaust it with... They're just like... Okay, dang, we played that a little bit out of order, I guess. So we won't do that. Then we're going to pass there. Bit of a misplay on our end. We could have gotten a little bit more damage out, but those are the breaks. I think we're just going to resource that Freetown Backup. We've got Chewbacca. Wow. And he can defeat the... Okay. I guess he knocks it out, bats it out of the air with his little stick there. Okay. Let's see. We will... Boba's armor onto Tarful. And then I think we're going to... We'd really like to capture that Chewie. Let's see here. We'll attack into that, and then we can hit Kira. Okay. Actually, who are we gonna heal? Deal 2. So we're just gonna do the 2 to the constables there. Okay. And then, man, we got 7 on 11. So something with 4 power can take out Tarful at this point. Let's see. If it's worth it just to... Okay, so I'm assuming Kira's ability still matters for the smuggle to make it cost more. Let's see here. We just want to put out like a fair amount of stuff on the board so that we can... although we've only got like 6 left. Maybe what we need to do is play... We just want to have stuff out so that we can use Take Captive, and it's not easy for them to just immediately get rid of the unit that we put it on, right? Because if we use Take Captive on Tarful, they're just going to kill him. So we could put it on L3, and L3 would guard that captive better because of the shield. Here, we'll use Boba to buff our space unit. Then we can attack with that. Okay, getting down to the wire here. Okay, Gamorrean Retainers is also good for us in the sense that it'll guard whatever we need it to guard a little bit better. What are they going to do with Kira? They're going to run it into L3. Okay, but that guard, dang, it is not actually currently active. So, darn. Yeah, because we got like no other, we don't have our Boba and we don't have any of those. But, honestly, if we just start whacking the base, I think it's going to be hard for them to come back from that. Just because we've already got 5... I think we might have lethal on board on already, just because if we play a card with yeah, any of these abilities, we can tap Boba to give a power bonus. So I think we'll lead with Although they can be like hitting us for stuff. Oh man, because they're still like completely untapped. We're just going to Queequeg pirate gang them. We'll run them. I think it's gonna be harder for them to ambush in space, just because of the card pool. So we will give that buff to our space unit, and we'll trigger that, and this way we can get rid of Kira. We could also play Freetown backup. But yeah, okay. Yeah, they're gonna need to like ambush these units out because otherwise we're just going to kill them. So we'll get in with this dissident here. And he's going to be hard for them to do anyway, just because even if they play all this stuff, we're only at 6. So, I mean, like, the tempo of the game has really gone in our favor here. And yeah, we just need, like, one more thing out. And we can, let's see what we've got. We don't have enough for that. Or the Principled Outlaw. But we do have, I mean, like, we have enough to play both of these. We can also take captive Chewie if we need to, but I really think we're just gonna, like, spam the board because unless they've got some magic bullet, like they've got an evacuate or something here, I think they're kind of done. But who knows? I've seen decks on here with legendaries before, but not in this case, so that will be it. We're just going to attack there and win. There we go. Yep, 31-4. Even though it took a little bit, it was just because you're really sometimes get into this kind of game of attrition and sealed, where you're just kind of, especially if that's the way that you're playing, where you're just like trading back and forth and just trying to trade for multiple units, keep one of your unit around, right, longer than theirs, and use a single unit on your end to get rid of multiple things on theirs, because you know that after a while, just because of the limited card pool, you're going to win, right? Because, I mean, like, we were down to 5 cards in the end. I guess it shows us what they've got in hand. Lots of Wookiees in here. Pretty good in Han, who can get them out early and deal damage, but that will be our first match. We'll go into our second one. Okay, we are going into this match is against Hondo Ohnaka, a common leader. He really focuses on the smuggle mechanic. You see different leaders for different mechanics. He gives experience to a unit. It doesn't have to be the one that you smuggled, so he can, even himself, I think, like, when his leader side is out and flipped, you can put it on him. But yeah, which would be pretty useful, because then he can get up at least like a 4-8 and be pretty large, especially if you can do that multiple times. Here we can lead with L2 into Cobb Vanth or into the Cloud Car, so I don't think we'll mulligan here. We just have to decide whether we're doing Cobb Vanth or the Cloud Car. I think, man, it is pretty difficult. I'm obviously going to do Cobb Vanth. I know that might be, might see that in the comments, but we've got 2 of them, and he doesn't trigger Boba, and I'd really like to trigger Boba to be able to, like, push out some of this damage, because if we, like, don't do that, I mean, like, we can't get rid of the Spike Sentinel. You really need to hit that 3 to be able to kill stuff, and stuff like, if you're leading with, like, L3, I mean, I guess we could use McClunky to get rid of it, but then you're also, like, not sticking any damage on board. Okay, so we will play the Cloud Car, which lets us exhaust Boba to buff L3. We should be able to get rid of all of these Sentinel units, although it'll take a little bit. If they want to do the long game, that is also okay. We can do that. We've got Tarful. Also bounce L3, like I said, with McClunky. Probably don't need that outflank. They're going first, though, so it just kind of depends on They smuggle that out. Okay, they did. So they gave that guard the experience. But if we use Maclunky, we bounce our L3, and we should be able to kill that retainer, even with that experience, because it was a 4/3. Which is exactly the kind of thing you want to be doing. Those small plays like that can make a big difference, because really, like in sealed, you are in a game of attrition, like I mentioned at the end of match 1 a lot of the time, unless you open up like some really big bombs that are just like generically powerful that you can did that out of order again, so we're just going to skip that. But we should have had 1 more damage on the base, so if we lose by 1, we'll know how big of a mistake that was. Let's see here. We can put the rich reward on the stowaway. When does Ohnaka come out? 6. That's good too, though. Some of those, I think like Fennec comes out on... No, that was like Lando who comes out on 4. Some of them that drop really early are sometimes really hard to deal with. You need to get rid of them right away, but it looks like we've got a minute for that. But we do want to be... We're going to need to drop multiple things, though, because we're going to need to hit... and we can surprise strike with Boba onto Hondo. So I think really we're going to resource that take captive, just because we want to be able to play this Freetown backup, hit those stowaways with our rich reward. Although they've given experience to it now. So let's see here. We can play... We'll play it on there anyway. I don't know how their pirate gang... Okay, they must have ambushed it out. And then... Although that doesn't... Yeah, okay. This is why we wanted that cloud car out early, because... Restore 2 each turn, if they do not have a way to answer that, is going to be particularly difficult for them. Player back up here. So we can't run L3 into the stowaways and still kill them. So seem to be up to 4, so we're just gonna hit the base. And if they don't kill that Freetown backup, then that'll be rough on them. Okay, so Ohnaka can come out. We need the surprise strike. Really want to keep that Tarful around. This stowaway, yeah, +2/+0. Okay, so first things first, we're going to attack with the backup to give L3 the buff so that they can't run into it with their pirate gang. Then we're gonna get our restore. Okay, yep. So there's Ohnaka. So I think we're gonna get Boba out. Hopefully they don't immediately do the smuggle thing on him. Okay. Because like I said, otherwise he goes up to 8, and I mean like even with the surprise strike on Boba, like we can't kill him with that. So we should be able to kill him right away with this. Actually, L3 would do it too, and keep some damage off of our Boba. It's alright, we'll just run Boba into him. Yeah, don't like putting that much on Boba. Sometimes it's hard to, Okay, let's see. I mean, if we've got to run into this Pike Sentinel, we might as well put a rich reward on it. And then we'll give it to Boba and the Cloud Car. We could have also put it on L3 and they would have survived, but also we can claim initiative here, and then their stowaway is losing that power bonus, which they've been kind of like relying on. There's another cloud car, but this car retainer will be pretty good on the ground, so we can just straight away kind of although we can play Tarful. Ooh. Yeah, it's like, what do we do first? I think we attack with that cloud car just to get the healing and make sure they don't have anything in the air. Okay, so Boba has 3 health left. So we're going to need to drop this retainer if we want to keep him around this round. And then, let's see, we'll put more experience on Boba and the cloud car again. And then we can attack with our backup into the pirate gang and give Boba the buff. And then it's just like whether, oh gosh, if we're like running Boba into Sonara Sand or not. But we could be like hitting for 8 here. I think we are going to just start whacking the base, because if we put them up to 18 and we still keep healing 2, it'll be pretty rough for them. Let's see, we do have the pirate gang. We can ambush this into their follower of the way. Okay, and then pass there. So we just need to deal, oh, they're on like 34, right? So we got to do 16. Okay. I think we're going to stop resourcing here. We can also take captive on Sonara, but okay, that's kind of weird. They're just like running straight into our backup when they could have killed our Boba and had the overwhelm. So let's see. We'll play take captive here. And let's see. I think we'll have the pirate gang capture Sonara. And then we're just going to keep going on the base. I think it's going to be hard for them to come back from that though, because now we're on like 5. If you can like stick that stuff on stuff in the air, it's just like really hard for them to come back from anything. And even then, like, I don't want to play that fugitive Wookiee. I think, yeah, they're just dead though, because we can just attack straight with this. What am I thinking? Yeah, because we can just attack with that pirate gang right on their base. If you can stack like even 1 or 2, oh no, 34. I just said that. Okay, so we'll pass there, but I mean they're dead because they can't get rid of everything. Then we'll pass again. So I'm assuming they're going to do the mercenary company into Boba, but not really. Okay, we're just Boba straight on the base. Even without that misplay, I mean, I think they're dead. Just because of all of these units. I mean, like we just would have dropped the fugitive Wookiee to have more on board. And then the following turn we can play Tarful or Cobb plus the Cartel Turncoat, and we're in like at 13 and they're at like 30. What were they at, like 32, 33? So even with that misplay from the AI, I mean, I think smooth sailing, once you get, right, this is like a 5 for Restore 2 in space. If you can use those bounties to stick experience on anything, it's pretty hard for them to come back from it, especially if you can remove their stuff in the meantime. But that will be match number 2. Alright, we will go into a semi-mirror match here with Boba. So we know what Boba does. They're starting out with 8 more health since they're on that science facility. We can play the Freetown backup into the Cloud Car is pretty good play, because then we've got a 4/4 Restore 2 in space, basically. If we can keep that Freetown backup around. So I don't think we will mulligan here. It's just whether this rich reward is better than these outflanks. Outflank is nice going into round 3, being able to attack with both of these together and save on our actions a little bit. So I think we might just keep one of those around and get rid of one of those rich rewards, just because I don't know if we're really going to be trading for their units. So we'll pass there. Because I mean, like, we can do 2 into there, but okay. So maybe, yeah, just like I want to keep both of those, so we'll get rid of that outflank, I guess, even though we kept it. Okay, so you're gonna give experience from that Ren Rescuer onto the Underworld Thug. That gives it, man, this stacking where they put that like number there and then the number there, it's like, looks like 5 to me, right? But it really is 4. 4 and then 3. So I'm gonna play this Cloud Car, and we might as well give the buff to that Freetown backup. It's just like whether I want to take the initiative here or not. I think we honestly will. Just because it's not worth that 2 damage. Let's see here. We'll play L3, giving the buff to Freetown again, just to be able to kill that Clan Ren Rescuer. Or, I mean, we could get the Underworld Thug, but I think what we're gonna, we'll get that Ren Rescuer, putting the +2 on the Cloud Car. Got another one, okay. Attack there, should start to keep some of that damage off of our base. If they want to be trading with their units, that is alright. I mean, it's not like we've got a super good top end, but we do have a fair amount of removal. Okay, so yeah, it's just like what we're doing here. We can use Take Captive with these Cloud Cars to keep that Star Hopper off. Because if we don't do that, although, I mean, like, we could just ignore it and keep hitting the base. Or we can be starting to, like, kind of trade for stuff down there. The Surprise Strike is very good on our Boba into their Boba, so I kind of like want to keep that around. This Captive is good. Fett's armor on Boba Fett is very good, so it's really just a debate between Cobb Vanth and the Cloud Car. It just gets really rough. We don't have a whole lot of space units, and I just don't think it's going to like work out for us if we, what is this on now, 5? We'll attack with, let's see, maybe just like L3 into that Rescuer to keep L3 around. See what they do. Okay, they're going to start going on our base. We'll attack with Freetown backup onto their base in return. And we can buff this Cloud Car, so even if they run into it, alright, they're not though. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to start attacking their base. Because with our restore and the amount of stuff that we've got, I'm going to pull out a Mandalorian Warrior and Rescue. Okay, we already got 2 of those, haven't we? Wow, they're like stacked with Mandalorian cards. We'll play another Cloud Car. Which I guess we should have done before to put another. We need to pay more attention to that, but we have not been. We won't. And then they put an experience, okay, on their Star Hopper, which makes sense. But we don't have enough left to use take captive on it. We can use the Smuggler's Starfighter though, I think, to, yeah, because we've got an L3 gives us that underworld keyword, to make this -3, -0. And then we can kill it, and get a rich reward on it. So I really think that is what we need to do here. And so now it's just between take captive and the surprise strike. Really, I think we're gonna do this, and then we're going first, so we can play this smuggler, and then okay, so is putting that buff on any of these like really worth it? Not really. We'll put it on the cloud car, and then this will have, wow, they've got an Delphi patrolling. Okay, so we should probably have kept that, let's see what we can do here. Okay, we're gonna play Rich Reward on this. Okay, so let me see here. I don't know why it's saying like -1 here, like on the health side, and then like +1 here. Really, it should have no power, because of Smuggler Starfighter. So it should be like a 0. Maybe it's like flipped. I guess it is flipped. Yeah, it should be like a 0, 3. Let's just put it on opposite sides. So, it's just like the order, because we can like deploy Boba to, and we really need to like get rid of their Adelphi patrol wing. And I don't think we've got enough to do both of those things. Okay, I think, but like putting the experience on Boba is probably worth it, like to get him out and do that. Okay, so I think we're gonna lead with that. Okay, and then we can attack with our patrol car into there. Actually, we could have done it with the other one too, but oh well. And then experience-wise, we're going to give it to that patrol craft and Boba. And then we can get rid of their Boba, which is really what we need to do before we do anything else. Can we though? Let's see. If we give him, because that'll be 5, 6, 7, yeah. So put Boba Fett's armor on our Boba. That allows us to, I guess we could have got it anyway because of the Freetown backup. And that only does 2 damage to us in return. This, we have 4, 5. This has got like 6 health. That is like so much health. Okay, I think we really need to keep this board as empty as possible. They have 2 upgrades, which I think are 2. Yeah, 2. So that gives them 5 health. It's only got like 2. Okay, so we're gonna have to be hitting the base here, giving that buff there. 4, 5, 6. Are they on 6 then? Because if it is on 6, we probably should get rid of this patrol wing. So I guess that is what we'll do. Yeah. Because we can't leave a 4-6 around in space. Okay, so that worked out pretty well for us. They had their deploy turn, they played their big thing, but we were able to kind of, wow. Okay. +3+, so it's like a 5, 6. Wow. Alright. Maybe, I wonder if we should just like take captive. 5. We're on like 10 health. Man. I think we're just gonna, yeah, let's just start attacking their base. I mean, I don't know. Now it's just, yeah. They're just starting with like 8 more health, which makes like changes the math on it like a little bit. What are they on now? 6. But we've got 10. Yeah, I'm just going to keep hitting. Because on the 30 health base, right, it's absolutely no question. But when they've got, like, they start out with 8 more health than you, it's just, like, changes the math a little bit. Because if they can, like, drop some big late game thing and then you can't do anything about it, it becomes, like, pretty hard. I also want to keep Boba around just because he's giving us, like, these, the power bonus. Because he's got that, like, static +1/+0. So, and we don't, sometimes, like, these fugitive Wookiees later in the game, it's a debate about dropping them, because if they can, like, kill it, then they, like, tap down your Boba or something, and then you can't get lethal in. They've already claimed, so now it's just, like, a matter of, I think, since they've claimed and they're tapped out, I would not otherwise do this, but I think we want to take captive using Boba to capture their Underworld Thug, just because now they've only got a 2/4 on board and we've got a whole lot of damage, and I think probably lethal, but I'm not going to do the math. And then we're going to pass. Like I said, I'm not dropping that fugitive Wookiee because since they've got initiative, I don't want the first thing they do to just kill it and then we can't do anything about it. We also drew into Tarful, which can help us there. 7, we can do like 10 straight with that surprise strike, which is why, again, we did not play the fugitive Wookiee, because we can surprise strike with Boba here and then do that. Should be close to lethal. Oh, 38 exactly. I don't know why I thought it was 39. So we got it. Pulled through in the end there. Again, I mean, sometimes it seems like, why are you keeping that surprise strike? Really just because of instances like that where you're just waiting till the end to get in that last bit of damage. But that is the last match number 3. We'll go back to the main screen here. Alright, we'll go over the sealed list. That is not our sealed list, that is our deck list. Here's the sealed pool. We're not going to go through every card, that would just take forever. We're just going to kind of maybe talk about it more in generalities. Go over like maybe what to look for, you know, playables, things like that, like why we went a certain way. So if you are going to like your first pre-release and you're kind of like looking for like, well, I've got a pool of cards and I don't know what to pull out of them and why I would pull what I would pull, this section is more aimed toward that kind of a discussion, as opposed to like a card by card like set analysis or something like that. Although there will be a little bit of that because you've got to kind of like analyze cards based on the pool that you opened. So obviously I thought Boba Fett, with what we opened, would be the most successful. We did end up playing 4 of the rares that we opened out of the 6. So I mean, sometimes that is a pretty good indicator depending on what you open. But sometimes if you don't open bombs or your rares are not the kind of rares that are bombs, it can be like a little bit more difficult. And I don't think we got, I mean, like Boba Fett's armor was a pretty good pull for us here, but it's not like we got like Rule with Respect or something like that, which would be like really kind of clearly obviously going into this build. Or that kind of a thing. And I think that is kind of like emblematic in a card, or exemplified in a card like Hondo Ohnaka, because he really needs like smuggle cards, right? So if you don't have a certain core of smuggle cards, he's really not going to be like to the best of his ability, and you might be better running something else, right? With Hondo, you want to have a certain amount of smuggle cards in the chamber right when you deploy him, because he can come out on 6, which means you could play like 2 3-cost cards or things like that, or even like multiple kind of like smaller smuggle cost cards. And then as soon as he comes out, like if you can line those up and you've got them ready, he can easily be like a 4/9, really like a 6/9, like because of his raid ability. So I do think he's playable, and I think there will be some very good decks made with him, but you need to set up those smuggles for him to be able to then like come out. Fennec Shand also, I think good. I think she'll be better probably in Constructed, just because her action is focusing on cards that cost 4 or less. So if you've played like a lot of sealed, whether that's Magic or anything else like that, I mean, like the games can sometimes, they do tend to go long, and they can also like revolve around the core of like bombs that people have opened. So you either can end up like in a game of attrition where you're trying to like remove their bombs, stick your units, or like, and that's either like with events or like upgrades, like tap them down, like things like that. But in any case, right, her ability and her action, right, like it says 4 or less, right? So I think she'll be able to push out like a ton of early damage, and can really synergize with a lot of things that are happening in the set. But like if you don't have a good top end, like you do not have falcons, I'm trying to think of other things like in her color pair, because falcons are 5/5, they're cunning, white. But right, like whatever you open, maybe you're in like red, right, and you open a crate dragon or something, right? Great, because then you can like finish out the game. But if you try and jam your whole deck full of stuff that costs less than 4 and you don't have like any bombs, you're just going to probably lose that game, right? Because even if you're ambushing them all out and paying that extra, it's just like hard to finish out a game because you're not unconstructed, so you can't like put in the cards that you would need to do to be able to like actually pull that off in a sealed pool. So I think she's playable, but just like be a little bit cautious, make sure you've got that top end. I think a lot of people may fall into traps of trying to run kind of like cutesy decks where you try and like throw in all your stuff that costs less than 4. Or if you're running Cad Bane, you think, oh, I opened up a lot of Underworld cards, I'm going to just throw all my Underworld cards in there, and then I'll be able to deal like a damage each time I play a card to a unit, and then I'll just win that way. But then if you don't have like any rares, any legendaries, or any bombs, like Jabba's Rancor or something, I really don't think that stuff will really like work out. So like make sure that you've got a finisher, like no matter what it is, whether that is like based on your leader. Like in our deck, it kind of was a little bit because we knew we had Boba's armor. We also like had a Falcon, which again, space finisher. We also had Tarful, who can get again, like either have us last long enough to be able to pull into the rest of our stuff, or be able to take care of like a Jabba's Rancor or something like that if we need him to. So just be cautious about that stuff going forward. I'll go through here a little bit. I think it's worth pointing out, again, like I was talking about like cutesy interactions, right? You also just want like a core solid build of like multiple cards for like your like that archetype that you're playing, right? Like you got 2 Cobb Vance, we got 2 Fugitive Wookiees, we got 2 L3s on the ground, and then we have, right, like these 3 Twin Pod Cloud cars, right? So we had like this solid kind of bait of cards that we were like looking for, looking to play with, looking to use, that all also had like keywords that would trigger like for Boba. We opened like 2 Clan Challengers, we opened 1 Ren Rescuer, we opened like 1 Mandalorian Warrior, right, we opened 1 Armorer, right? So I mean, like there's almost a version of this deck where we could like run that kind of a, right, go like with Mandalorians. But I think it's also a little hard to run them if you don't, you kind of want to be in red, white, and blue, I think, even though the Mandalorian himself is in yellow, just because you want to be able to hit some of these things like Clan Challengers, unless you're going for the villainous build where you can run the Clan Saxon. Man, I'm kind of forgetting the name. They're like on 5. They come out with Sentinel and Shield. So it kind of depends, right, like whether you're running Gar Saxon or not. But I mean, I would be looking, if you're going like the heroic route, you kind of want to be in red, white, and blue. And again, we didn't open like a leader that would like let us do that. We didn't get Bo-Katan. You could even probably run Rey there, because Rey will still count for the upgrades that they're looking for. Put the upgrades on them, and Rey plus Follower of the Way is very good, because Rey will turn this into a 3/4, right? Yep, 3/4. Very good, right? So we did also just like did not get the leaders to be able to do that. So another thing to look out for, right? Like know what leaders you would need to be able to go with that route or not, right? And also, like I said, we would need like multiple copies of some of these cards. You could potentially do these blue white ones with Mandalorian, but like I said, we would need like more of them and potentially, just like different cards, right? Which we didn't open, right? You can't just have like one or two of certain things. That isn't really going to work. Also, like some of your rares, you might end up with stuff like Omega here was one of our rares. Omega allows you to ignore the aspect penalty on the first clone that you play, unless you've got like, I would say like 4 or 5 and really playable, like really playable clones. You're just not going to be able to use some of these cards. And I say that just because, ignoring the aspect penalty isn't that great, but Omega does have a when played of you can look at the top 5 cards and then get one out. So you got like I said, like some bomb clones that you can play that you can pull with Omega, then maybe, and Omega also just happens to be in the color that you would be playing anyway, maybe, but some rares are just like not really worth it. Let's see what else we've got here. I don't think like a lot of these are worth talking about. Like Zuckuss is a fine 5 for a 6/6. Saboteur is okay, but better if you can get 4 Lam along with them. Space can be kind of hard. We opened a fair amount here. Sometimes like 5 is a good number, just because they're often spread out amongst like, red, like these different like colors, and because they're not like as plentiful as you can like kind of really see here clearly, right? We got like 47 ground units and we opened 14 space, and 14 space is a lot. Sometimes it's more like 10. So, and it's really worth like considering like what space cards you've got, right? Are they colorless? Are they, is it a bomb like Survivor's Gauntlet, right? Again, so this is another one of our rares, right? It's Mandalorian, it's blue, it cares about the upgrades, but that alone with like the Armorer and like 1 copy of that, 1 copy of Mandalorian Warrior, 1 copy of Follower of the Way, 1 copy of Clanner and Rescuer is just probably like not enough to be like a reliable deck, right? So even if you go like, oh man, I got this really great rare, it's just usually like not necessarily worth it, right? That's a rare, but like an uncommon like Falcon has like ambush 5/5 on 6, right? And plus smuggle, so you can like resource it early, pull it out later, and then like if you get this in your opening hand, you can put it away, pull it out on turn 6 and get it out, right? Survivor's Gauntlet, you get that in your opening hand, right? Like what do you do with it? And that's not saying Survivor's Gauntlet is bad, it's just saying like you need multiple copies of the cards in your deck to like work together, right? I would also be looking out, like I said, in your sealed pools, like you need a certain amount of space units. I would not run like less than 5, because if you run less than 5 and your opponent has any space at all, especially if they've got like twin pod cloud cars and you don't have any space, you're probably losing unless you can like put out like a whole like a ton of damage like on the ground really quickly, because like you said, if they keep these in the air, they're restoring 2 each turn and dealing 2 to you, and you just can't do anything about it. Is going to be hard to deal with. So even running like these Rokai gunships and things like that, if you've got them, just be careful. Like if you only have like 1 or 2 space units, like you don't open any that are like aspectless, I would really, even if you've got otherwise good cards, really be thinking about like how you're going to deal with that. Or do you have like removal that can deal with that? Or what? Because you can't just like not play in an arena or only have like 2 or 3 cards that can be played in one arena, right? And then play only in the ground or something like that. So I know a lot of people say like sort by aspect, but also like think about space. Sort by ground and space if you've got the time, because you cannot just play 2 or 3 space units. I see people try and do things like that because they open like, maybe they'll get something like Wrecker, they'll get Poe, they'll have like red and white, but they have like no red space units, right? And it's like, okay, well then you need to pair whatever you're open, right? Like if that's the case, then like maybe like if this was our pool, And let's like ignore these red and say like we maybe then and say that they were like turncoats or something, right? Then like maybe you need to be in yellow to have some space, right? So if you do have the bombs and they're all in one color, but you don't have like any space aspected stuff that goes along with it, and you're only, like I said, you've only got like 2 cards, really think about like what you can pair that with. That either needs to be event removal, upgrade removal, or it needs to be an aspect that makes up for your like space deficit because you don't like have any in the right colors, right? So just think about that. That's a common mistake that I see people do. All right, so upgrades here. We got Boba Fett's armor. We did get like a lot of these foundling traits. So I mean, like this is again, right, like you might be able to eke out like a Mandalorian deck with all of those because the armorer will see the foundlings and then like stick that on there. So I know I talked about having like 1 copy of each of those things, but right, I mean, like we do have protectors. I would really like I just didn't think that deck would be like that consistent, right? And we're also not in like really great colors. Maybe if we had like Bo-Katan or something, it would be something to try out. Like I said, I kind of wish that Force Table would let you like right now, because we like won 3 games and we just have to like forfeit and restart. I kind of wish that it would let you just like erase your wins and like refresh and like play with another deck, because then, you know, like it would also be easier for like showing other people how to do that. Rich rewards are good, just because there's a lot of sentinels in these games and you're often having to run stuff into them anyway, and so like really any bounties that kind of like yeah, can end up being like very good, because oftentimes you're going to be like running things into those sentinels and it helps to get like some benefit from that. Grapple shot is fine. We got 2 daring raids. I think constructed playable. I mean, I think it's good in sealed too, maybe a little less than it is in constructed, again because you don't have that you know, like aggro consistency. You don't have like those play sets, but I mean, being able to deal 2 damage to anything you want can be very good, especially if they like you get into these games where you're like dealing like 1 less than lethal to stuff, either you to your opponent or your opponent to you, and oftentimes games can hinge around those turns where you've got like 1 powerful unit out and it's got like a few health left on it, and that you or your opponent are able to just like hit your base those last few turns, and there's like you don't have something with ambush, they don't have some, right, or vice versa, and then that one thing that's got like 2 or 3 health on it is sitting around and dealing like 7 or 8 or whatever damage to you because they ran it into your big unit to stop you from winning, and then they win the game, right? So I think daring raid, you might be tempted to use that early. I would hold off on that kind of a play. Like think about like how you're going to win with it, right? Don't just use it just to use it. Keep it around so that you can like use it on something, right? Like a Rancor. Say they run, you got like a Boba with his armor on, they eat your Boba with the Rancor. That Rancor's got like 7 or 8 damage on it, and then you can use this daring raid to kill it, right? To be able to maybe take back the game at that point, right? Don't just use it just to, like I said, use it. Detention block rescue is probably playable in sealed. It does 3 damage to a unit for 3, which is not great, but it also does 6 to something if it's like been captured. So like if they're using their leader to capture something, this can be pretty good. 6 damage is a lot, even on something like Boba. I won't scroll back up. Boba's got 7 health, right? So you could like run a 1-2 or something into it and then like use the detention block rescue to like kill him, get your cards back. I think it's definitely playable and sealed. Let's see, outside of here, I mean, Outflank is good. I don't think I used it in any of our games, but especially like late game, again, right, like just be like, when are you using this? Are you using this early? Are you using it late? Like know whether your deck is aggro, whether it's, you know, control, like what is your deck, right? How's it working, right? Because that matters like when you play it, right? Like maybe you want to save this for when you've got a lot of stuff out late game, when you've got your bigger units out, or maybe you want to get it in early so that you can keep initiative, right? Especially there are some cards like those stowaways in green-black where you want to keep the initiative, and these, I mean, cards like this are better in that scenario because it allows you to keep initiative easier than it would otherwise be, right? So just know your deck, know when you need initiative, what kind of a deck you're playing. I think we talked about Surprise Strike and Take Captive. I think we definitely talked about those earlier on. I guess just worth saying again, Take Captive is a common. I think I would even play these out of aspect. Like 5 to capture an enemy non-leader unit is fine. All right, like if that's a Rancor and you're going to lose, 5 is like nothing, right? It does, you do need something in that arena with it, which is like the only downside, but I would be playing again, right? Like I talked earlier about space units, right? And do you have space, and can you deal with space effectively, or are you, right? Like, how are you dealing with other units, right? Something like Take Captive, right? Like your removal, right? Like you would need something in space to be able to use Take Captive, because you need a unit in the same arena, right? You can't, it's not like Legal Authority. I think Legal Authority doesn't care what arena it's in, or maybe that's Jabba. I don't know. I know like Jabba, when he comes down, right, like you can capture a space unit with your Rancor or something, right? So just be careful. Make sure that you got enough like units to be able to use it in the first place. I definitely think this is usable. You should, though, like I said, like make sure that you've got space units when you're playing, which is maybe, I don't mean that in any specific way. I just see, right, I mean like pools, it happens to me too, where you get like I said, a lot of rares, or even like you get a good legendary, you get a good rare, and they're in one specific color pairing, and then you go to see like your space units and you've got no space units in that color that you picked, right? That's really probably not playable unless you combine it with another color, where that will, like I said, make up for that. So just be careful about that. Other than that, I think that will be it for now. I'm not sure if I'll go back to Carabas gameplay right after this or not. I like to keep some of these sealed going. I'll go to a sealed event this week on Saturday, and maybe next Tuesday if I'm lucky to be able to do that. I have to travel like an hour-ish to be able to go to those events, so I can't just drive 15 minutes, go to them. Otherwise I would go to a lot more, but like I said, we'll see. I might do some more sealed on here just to go through like some different leaders. I'd like to hit Jabba or some of those other leaders, just see how they play. But we'll see. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.